Richard, as a director, would you instill some kind of policy to see that other directors, because you have to use better business judgment and due diligence and the fiduciary relationship to the society, to the homeowners here, would you do something about directors that have a constant pattern of lateness, who get IRS liens against their property, or in foreclosure, who may not be around? What would you do about that? Because I'm afraid to give these kind of directors my money. I work hard for it. I don't trust them with it.
I know what you're saying, but I don't think that there's any stipulation that says that as long as the director is in good standing, he can be on the board. I don't know if you can pass, I'd have to research it, but I don't know if you can pass any policy that would prevent him from being he or she on the board. It is true that if someone's handling our money, we have concerns. That's true. But since there's no stipulation against it, I don't know what we can do to prevent it.
Do you want to comment on any other questions that were previously asked? Okay. Is there a question for Sergey?
I have a question for everybody.
You'll ask it first of Sergey.
How do you stand on a forensic audit? And that's for everybody. How do you stand on a forensic audit?
I was already asked that question. I can repeat it again.
That's why it's for everybody else.
So is it for me or for everybody else?
You can answer it again.
I already answered, so
any other questions?
Somebody wants to add something. Richard, you want to answer?
No, we're not going to pass the microphone. When it's your turn, if you want to respond to that question, you can.
Can I ask a question, sir?
No, he had a question for, we'll do another round. You have a question for Gail? No. Pass the microphone to Gail, please. There's no specific, do you have a question?
Gina Riggi, Tower 214B. Gail, I just have a question about the them and us of the galaxy. I feel like there has been a division, I know there's been a division, but I feel like you're on one side, and I'm wondering if you're willing to be open enough to incorporate everybody in the galaxy if you were on the board, because I get the distinct feeling that there's still some old assumptions. And I want to know how you would be willing to work on openness, freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, and freedom of communication for owners.
Thank you, Gina. I really appreciate that question. And for some people who maybe are new here, probably what Gina was referring to was a few years ago, they were the quaggers, they were the return to reason, we were fighting the lawsuit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was a horrible, horrible time. It was like this country during the Vietnam War, only worse. I absolutely, Gina and everybody, am completely open. I am not affiliated with anybody. I have no agenda at all. I believe in complete transparency and openness on the part of the board. We are the board. I live here too. I have never chosen to run for the board of directors. Many years ago I was on a committee, but I got off of it. I'm glad you asked that question because that's what I meant by childish complaints. Everybody has a complaint, but childish complaints, in light of the divisiveness that has been going on in this community, become old and tired. It is time for working together. I am open to listening to everyone that I really was on opposite sides from years ago. Not everything Mike said was wrong. Not everything Gina said was wrong. Not everything I said, we said were right. Put that in the past. I am open to communications with the residents. If there are papers that they want to look at, or documents, and legally they have the right to, again, they are me, then we should be able to get it. So I think I've answered your question. If not, come back and ask me again. You're welcome.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Felice Strumza. I am resident in Tower 3, 28A. I have a question to Barbara. For many, many years you look into numbers. We all know about it. And you said a statement that the in-unit service never made money. If you looked over the years, 2 years ago, you knew very well that in-unit service made $450,000 a year. And after that, we didn't make any more money. So I want you to tell me, how do you know that we cannot increase the unit service that we have today? Thank you.
Finney, is this working?
Yeah.
I think when you read those numbers, you have to compare the costs to the income from in-unit service. And we certainly did not have a surplus of $400,000. Our in-unit service department has always been a strange creature because half of the people who work in it don't just work in in-unit service. They also work in our regular building maintenance department. And so it's very difficult to tease out the salaries for one and the other. And when you add up all the costs for the equipment that we have to buy, and you look at what is charged to owners, and you look at what owners actually pay, and a lot of them don't, they have complaints, we don't end up making money. And that is my assessment of it. And I personally believe that rather than work with in-unit service, which has been unsatisfactory for the last 30 years, that we should try another route. And this is something that many of us, including you, have talked about before, and that is to have a series of vendors, such as electricians, plumbers, a list, and give people, and have them vetted by the Galaxy, and give people a choice. You know, if you have a plumbing problem, you call one of these people on the list. That is one thing I would suggest as a possibility.
Question for Michael?
Yes. Mike, you've put in a lot of time, and I'm sure money, into your pursuit of the Galaxy and its philosophy and policies. You've also gone to the town and gotten 5 years worth of dog licenses. You've gone to the town and gotten 5 years worth of business licenses, and God knows what else. Anyhow, a lot of this culminated in a lawsuit by the ACLU, which the judge recently dismissed. Care to comment on that?
Well, first of all, the license issue has nothing to do with the lawsuit.
What did it have to do?
It doesn't. I asked, first of all, I didn't ask for 5 years of dog licenses and business license. I asked for, I think, 2 years of dog licenses and 1 year of the business this year. And the reason is very important, because when I got them, I found that at about 2/3 of them, there was cash payments, and there was no record of the cash payments. And out of the 20 or so vendors in the mall, including the mall owner, they didn't have a license. And this is taking away revenue from the town. And so it wasn't as frivolous as you pointed out to be. There's people in town hall there that I think are corrupt, and they shouldn't be collecting cash money. And since that's happened, since I asked for those licenses, they stopped taking cash, because I used to pay cash when I got copies of public records. And all of a sudden, after I made those, there was a request for the licenses and noticed there was no record of the cash payments, they won't take cash anymore. They make you pay by check. And this is an oversight that we need, not only there, but here. You shouldn't be taking cash in the garage anymore. That should be all recorded money. It's too easy to be stolen.
You already asked your question.
Yeah, he answered your question. I don't want to comment. I'm just asking the
You'll
answer.
judge whether, it'll be for the judge whether it was responsible. Okay, question for